I thought, you know what, Ben? I decided then it was my light switch moment. I decided, Nikki, I was no longer going to be a victim of my circumstances.
Yeah.
I was going to become the master of my destiny.
Some people change the world not by asking for permission, but by believing in possibility before anyone else does. Today's guest, Ben Felton, is known as the world's fastest blind man on a motorcycle. But long before records, medals, or speed, Ben faced a moment that could have stopped everything. At just 15 years old, he was told he would eventually lose his sight. Instead of shrinking his life, Ben expanded it. A world champion athlete, disability advocate, and builder of opportunity for others. Ben has spent his life proving that vision is not only about eyesight, it's about belief, courage, and heart. Ben, welcome to Positive Vibes with Nicki Dennis.
Hi, Nikki. Great to be here.
When we're so pleased to have you, Ben. So, going back, Ben, you were told at 15 you would lose your eyesight. What was going through your mind at that age, and how did you keep choosing to dream?
Mm. So, Nikki, I was out riding my motorcycle in the bush up here in the Blue Mountains at night time down a fire trail without a headlight, as
Mm.
15-year-old boys do. And I'm riding down the trail. I could see beautifully. It was a full moon. And all of a sudden, I went under a canopy of trees, and all of a sudden, it went dark, and I
Mm.
couldn't see where I was going. And I hit the brakes, panicked, put my foot down, and hoping to stop the bike. And all of a sudden, I came to a halt. I face planted a tree. I was wearing an open
Ah.
face motorbike helmet. I broke my nose, and I was unconscious for quite some time. And when I eventually came to, um, I picked my bike up and I walked back home. And that night, and the next morning, I woke up with a cracking headache and a
Mm.
broken nose. And I
Yep.
said to my mother, "Mum, yeah, I hurt my nose." She said, "Oh, what did you do?" I said, "Oh, I fell over." And and I said, "And I've got and so she was having a look, and she said, and I told her that I had a bit of a headache, and she said, "Right, we better go to the doctors." So off I
Yeah.
went to my local GP. He had a look into my eyes and saw some pigment in the back of the eyes, and he pulled out a
Oh.
book from his library and said, "I think he's got this." He said, "But I'm going to send you to a referral to Sydney Eye Hospital." So off we went, my mother and I, and Nikki, I just a few weeks earlier just got a letter from the Australian Navy to say that I was
Mm.
a successful candidate in studying to become a marine engineer in the Australian Navy. So my life was and dreams were right before me. And
Wow.
so I go off to the Sydney Eye Hospital, and after going down there 3 or 4 times, they did a whole series of tests, a lot of uncomfortable ones, photographing your
Mm.
eyes with your eyes open and the whole lot. And then on our third or fourth occasion, we went down there. I sat in the professor's office, and he asked me, he said, "Excuse me, son," he said, "do you mind going in the waiting room?" And I went, "Oh, okay." So I got up and walked out of his office and closed the door and sat in the waiting room. And 10 minutes later, my mum walked out, and she was crying.
Mm.
And she said, "Come on, Ben, let's go home." And I said, "Oh, Mum, what's the matter?" "Oh, I can't talk now. Let's go, let's go." So we took off, hopped in the car. We're driving home, um, Nikki, back to the Blue Mountains. And on the way home, I said, "Oh, Mum, are you going to tell me what the professor said?" Oh, and she was really uncomfortable. But eventually, I said, "Look, Mum, this is my eye condition. You're going to,
Mm.
what did the doctor say?" And he said, she started and she was crying, and she said, "Ben, he said that you've got an eye condition called retinitis pigmentosa, and
Mm.
the long-term prognosis is you're going to be totally blind." I said, "What?" And she goes, "Yes, I know." She said, "Ben, and I said, "What do you mean go blind?" She said, "Well, he said it might happen next week, it might happen next month, next year, or you may still have some residual sight right up until the end." And I said, "Oh, really?" And I said, "What else did he say?"
Mm.
And she said, "Well, she said, take your son home and buy a billiard table. And my mother said to the professor, but we've already got a billiard table. How is that going to help my son's eyesight? And his response to that was, well, I'm sorry, there's nothing that I can do.
Mm.
So I went home and I was absolutely devastated with that news. And
Mm.
so how did I feel? A complete shock
Mm-hmm.
for the first day or two. And then I couldn't sleep. And I just kept thinking about this diagnosis. And I basically went into my shell.
Yeah.
Remember, I was 15 and a half year old boy, nearly
Mm.
16, halfway through year 10 or three quarters of the way through year 10. All these dreams, hopes, and aspirations that were, I was just about to start.
Yeah.
And I got told this devastating news. And so after the initial shock phase, I then basically, Nikki, went into denial. And
Mm-hmm.
for about 2 weeks, I didn't speak to my mother. I refused to
Yeah.
speak to my mum because I just did not cope at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Totally devastated. And then my father, after about 2 weeks, pulled me aside and said, listen here, son, you're not good. Your mother's not good. This is not a
Mm.
way that you're going to handle this. You're going to have to, get your act together, son, and you're going to have to deal with it.
Mm. Yeah.
So I chose then the easiest way for me to deal with it is to go into denial, right?
Yeah.
Just
Of
pretend.
course. It's not going
Just
to happen.
pretend it's not because my eyesight at the time then was perfect.
Yeah.
I could read the very bottom line of an eye chart. This is what the professor said. Oh, wow, only about 5% of people can ever see that good. You should become a fighter pilot. Ha ha ha.
Oh.
And these sort of things. So anyway, that really played with my mind, Nikki. And so
Mm.
basically, my eyesight was still perfect. Um,
Mm.
the first symptoms were night blindness. So provided I had a headlight or the street lights, I had no problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I subsequently, 9 months later, got my motorcycle rider's license the day I was old enough. 17, I got my learner's permit for the car, and I continued to drive and ride and live a so-called normal life.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to imagine for a 15-year-old trying to process that. And it's understandable what you were going through and the reactions you had. And old school back then, it's, suck it up and, move on, as your dad said to you. But very hard to imagine what that meant at that time. But was there a moment, so you're processing that, you've gone into denial. So that denial, was there a moment when you realized that your future did not have to be smaller, but just different?
For me, my light switch moment when I was just 27 years old, but Nikki, but that light switch moment for me, um, it took time. So I basically from 15 and a half until I was 25, lived a so-called normal life.
Yeah.
Worked two, three jobs, doing different jobs, driving trucks, cars, got my light, still racing motorbike. Just didn't even think about my vision impairment. Sorry, didn't think about RP or going blind. I just
Mm.
did not. I didn't even entertain my
Yeah.
thoughts at all. But when I was about 25, um, the night blindness thing started to become an issue, right? And
Mm.
my eyesight started to deteriorate from the outside in, Nikki. So it's gradually
Mm.
creeping in, all right? And then eventually it will close up. And so at the time at 25, I had instead of 180 degrees of vision, I went to about 140. And then I also noticed in dark places or in busy places like a nightclub or a pub, and I'd had a few beers and I wasn't concentrating as much, and I'd turn around and I'd bump into some bloke and I'd talk
Mm.
mural over him. And he'd say,
Mm.
oh, mate, watch out where you're going, where? And then, would you believe
Mm.
it? Go and get another beer and turn around and bump into the same bloke and I flipped me off.
Oh no.
And he goes, what are you? Blind or something? And you know what, Nikki? He just triggered something
Yeah.
inside me and I just exploded. And I became And from about 25 onwards, I became increasingly frustrated. I was starting to bump into things. At night time, I started tripping on things. And then I realized that, oh, hang on a minute. And then, so one day I sat behind the wheel of my car And I thought, how much can I really see? And at night time, when I'm looking, I could see about the width of the windscreen, but I couldn't see beside either passenger window. And I
Mm.
thought to myself, you know what, Ben? And my central vision was still perfect. And I
Yeah.
thought to myself, you know what? I may still okay to drive, but if someone or something happened on either side of me, I couldn't see that, then
Mm.
there's a possibility I might have an accident. And so I decided I wasn't worried about me, Nikki, but I couldn't live with the thought of
Mm.
possibly injuring somebody else when I had a knowing eyesight condition. So I hopped out of my car at the age of 25 and a half, and I tore up my driver's and rider's license, which back in those days was a piece of paper. And once I did that, that was the start of what I call my spiral into the depths of depression.
Mm.
Because once I tore up my driver's license, I went to work the next day and I said to my boss, "Oh, look, I've decided that I can't drive anymore. Oh, we're really sorry, Ben, but if you can't drive, we don't have a position for you anymore." So I lost my main
Mm.
job. And then I lost my second job. I didn't have transport, um, and I became then I lost my second job. Then I lost my relationship because it wasn't bringing any money in, and I couldn't afford the rent, and so everything compounded my whole
Mm.
world. And I call it that I slid into the depths of darkness. Right, fell off the abyss into the depths of darkness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and cutting a long story short, I ended up in jail, maximum security prison. I spent some time there and fought for my life a few times. And it was a light switch moment for me, Nikki,
Mm.
when I realized that Ben Felton, when you're going to accept responsibility for your circumstances,
Mm.
you got yourself into this situation. You're the
Mm.
one who's taking out your frustration and anger on other people. When are you going to accept responsibility for your actions? And I realized then, Nikki, and I thought to myself, why am I such a frustrated, angry young man? And I
Mm.
thought about this long and hard, right? And I thought, my dream was to join the Navy, to become a marine engineer and travel the world. And that was taken away from me by this diagnosis. And all I could
Mm.
think about my future, Nikki, at the time, because I'd never socialized with blind people before, people
Yeah.
with disabilities weren't included in mainstream society. They were sent off to
Mm.
institutions, right? So I never had any experience on people with a disability or blindness for that matter. And so I thought, Nikki, that my future prospects were threading beads or weaving cane baskets.
Mm.
And that's not a very attractive proposition for a
No.
25-year-old fit, healthy young man, full of energy.
Mm.
And um, and so I realized, Nikki, that what I'd lost, I by my diagnosis, by this stage when I decided to tear up my license, that's when I decided to start to deal with all of this. And I realized that the reason why I'm such an angry person and frustrated person is I don't have a sense of place. All of
Mm.
my hopes and my dreams and aspirations are taken away from me. All of the years of going to school and studying and having career advanced, career classes and doing exams and studying and educating was to develop a career. And all of a sudden, my career was joining the Navy was gone. And I thought, well, if I
Mm.
can't have a job, how am I going to support a relationship? How am I going to have a family? How am I
Mm.
going to pay off a mortgage and have 2.3 children and drive around in a Holden Commodore? All
Mm.
those aspirations, all everything was gone.
Yeah.
And so I realized that the reason why I'm sitting in maximum security prison is because I didn't have a sense of place.
Yeah.
I didn't know my sense of purpose. I didn't know what my role in society was going to be anymore. All I had was darkness, no hope, no light at the end of the tunnel. And for me, it was a light switch moment. And I thought to
Mm.
myself, Ben, you idiot, when are you going to accept responsibility for your circumstances? And I went, well, I don't want to, but the reality is I have to. And then I thought, you know what? Why am I so? Because I don't have a sense of place. I don't feel that I have a place in community anymore, in
Mm.
society, right? Because people like me get shipped off to the institution, you never get seen again.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so I realized, and I thought, you know what, Ben? I decided that it was my light switch moment. I decided, Nikki, I was no longer going to be a victim of my circumstances,
Yeah.
I was going to become the master of my destiny.
Good on you. At that age too, that's a lot to process and you're still quite young.
27 I was then,
Mm.
and it was a light switch moment. And I thought to myself, well, hang on, Ben, you can't change the world. And I thought, well, hang on, no, 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 I can't change the world. But what I can do, Nikki, is to make a positive difference.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, how am I going to do that? And I thought, you know what? I was educated at private school. I was pretty, I had a lot of good skills. I was fit. I was healthy. I had a lot of spirit, Nikki, as you can
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
And so I thought, you know what, Ben, use my God-given talents and gifts. And I thought, you know what, Aussies are open-minded. We love our sport. We've got an active sporting culture. What I'm going to do is devote my time in the sporting industry. And I really, because I was always a very good sportsman when I
Yeah.
was fully sighted. And so, I, lo and behold, yeah, and took
Yeah.
on many jobs in that aspect. And I'm still doing
Yeah.
that today.
Yeah. So just on that, so after university and after you've had this epiphany virtually while you're sitting in jail, you chose a path of service and leadership, which we've just talked about, founding organisations like the Nepean Blind Sports Club and Sailability Penrith Lakes. What drew you to helping others find confidence through sport?
Two things. One is that I got a stream of visitors, and a lot of those people were people I had recently met through blind sports,
Yep.
through blind cricket, which I didn't want to, you know, but I met a lot of people and they used to visit me all the time. They knew who I was. And they kept saying, "Oh, Ben, we really want you to come and help us out. We got this problem." Or I went to, I took my vision impaired child swimming the other day, but the coach said, "Oh, we don't know how to teach with kids with a disability." And
Mm,
and so a lot of people just kept from, I don't know why, Nikki, but
yeah.
would come to me with their issues, their problems, they download on me for whatever reason. And so that's what I realized, that there was a need there. And I thought, you know what? I've got the energy and the skills where I can do something about this. And
Mm,
so I decided to use that spirit or my energy. And rather than it controlling me, I decided to focus my spirit and my inner energy into doing positive things.
for
Um,
others. Yeah.
I went through a period of what I call my period of reflection and learning. So I wanted to know why, why,
Mm-hmm.
why am I here? What the law? I wanted to understand philosophy. I wanted to understand theology. I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
understand mental health issues. I wanted to understand, and I started just absorbing and reading and studying, and I call it my period of self-development.
Yeah.
I went out and I approached some people who I highly respected, um, religious leaders and elderly people in my community and a grandfather. And I asked them, would you be my mentor? I'm
Mm-hmm.
here. I need to learn. I need to create a new way. And so I was very fortunate that I had all these amazing people around me who were willing to help guide me, be a
Mm-hmm.
sounding board, all right? Be a comrade to walk with me when I needed that. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, Nikki, I needed a good old kick up the arse, up root
Mm,
beep. But it was, and by Nikki, when I did help out and I knew I made a positive difference to somebody, it made me feel really good.
mm,
And
yeah.
by helping others, less fortunate than myself, gave me a sense of purpose, a sense of
Mm,
peace, and a sense of fulfillment.
mm,
And you know what? Volunteering, making a difference for my community gave me the greatest rewards. So I
mm.
often learned that power, possessions, right, and prestige don't create happiness.
No. No, not at all. Not at all. It's that real unconditional kindness that I say, that what you get back from doing that. And again, you're not doing it for them to give something back to you. What you receive just by their sheer delight and change in their life is all you need. It's just, yeah, that pure energy connection and that pure delight that you've been able to support someone.
Those who give shall receive.
Mm,
And
yeah.
so what I got in return was just an immense sense of personal gratification
Yep. And
and,
purpose.
and purpose. And
Mm.
and when, so Nikki, I kind of realized that what really rocks my boat is I call it putting smiles on people's dials, right? So that's what I try to specialize in, okay?
Yeah. So just further on that, what have you seen in sport and in movement unlocking people who were once told they had limits?
So in sport, um, and just for context here, Nikki, I'm 58 years old, right? So when I'm talking about my, what happened a long time ago, in a lot of sports that I've first ventured in was I got comments like, "Oh, sorry, we don't cater for people like you," or
Mm,
"Oh, we've never done this before. We've never had a blind person, or we've never had a vision impaired, or we've never had a person with a disability actually ask us to do that." So quite often it's all these barriers.
yeah.
Now, and Nikki, I had to discipline, self-discipline, and I learnt a lot of really hard lessons in life because when people throw a barrier in front of me, my
Mm-hmm.
natural reaction was to kick the bloody door down and go straight through the front door. But I realized that you just can't do that.
Yeah.
And I realized that, often barriers are to do with people's attitudes.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that people's attitudes are influenced by, well, cultural values.
Mm-hmm.
They're influenced by leaders like me who are out
Mm-hmm.
there walking the walk and talking the talk. And so I realized that quite often barriers are not necessarily because people are discriminating against you or intentionally discriminating against you. Quite often barriers that I faced were due to people's ignorance.
Mm-hmm. Conditioning.
So I
Mm.
realized, and the light switched on for me once again. I thought, oh, right, don't, you know, um, how do I develop positive attitudes towards people with disability? How do I overcome those barriers? And one of those ways is I realized that it's ignorance, and the way you overcome ignorance is through education. And the
Mm-hmm.
best way to educate people is to walk the walk, and let them see, watch, and observe. And so then you can talk the talk.
Mm.
So I realized then, rather than going around and, you know, I realized that I had a very important role within my community, and that is to be a leader, to be a role model, to be
Mm.
a person, despite my trauma and adversity, I was going to go out there and strive for excellence in everything that I do. And
Mm.
Nikki, when you have the right attitude, and you have the right people, experience, and knowledge with you, and you decide to go on that journey and move forward, it's amazing how your life will change.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I have lived the most rewarding, you know, I actually see myself as a very lucky, blessed man to,
Mm.
and Nikki, I'm actually really proud of being totally blind. It's a
Mm.
part of me. In fact, Nikki, being totally blind is a gift.
Mm.
It allows me to inspire other people because I've got a story. It
Yeah.
allows me, it's opened up so many amazing opportunities. Nikki, I've, I'm a two-time world rowing champion. I've
Mm.
played in three Ashes, the first three Ashes series. I played cricket at Lords. I've played in Soweto. I played cricket against the Zulus in Natal. I've played cricket in Pakistan. I've
Yeah.
played cricket in India, Sri Lanka, the West Indies. I've traveled the world through playing sport and rowing.
Mm.
And I've met the awesome foursome, I've met the most incredible people. I've seen the most beautiful cities around the world, and I've lived the richest, most fulfilled life. And more importantly, Nikki, I've created opportunities for tens of thousands of other
Yeah.
people behind me, which I'm very proud of.
Yeah, and so you should be. I'm just listening to your story and going, you were the absolute groundbreaker that pushed through these barriers instead of, again, strategy of instead of kicking down the front door, it's actually using your positivity and your leadership and actually connecting with leaders within the community and doing so much for the disability community out there today. You've changed the way that we were conditioned growing up, as you said. Blind people were sent to institutions because they didn't know what to do with it. Look at the disability world today because of people like yourself, Ben.
Oh,
You
Nikki,
know,
it's just
absolutely, yeah, so rich.
Australia. In the last 30 or 40 years, we've gone from institutionalization and now we've got full inclusion and the
Yeah,
NDIS. And, people with disability are out there just doing the most incredible things in
mm,
academia, in sport, in any area.
yeah,
And and I like to think, Nikki, that I'm just so proud of being Australian.
mm,
But I also realised how goddamn lucky I was to be born in this country and in a society that
absolutely.
has an open mind, right?
Mm,
And a
yeah,
society that's, yeah.
but again, people like yourself providing education and also walking the talk. Like you're an absolute groundbreaker in this space. You should be so proud. So just on that, in regards to success, what does success mean to you now compared to earlier in your life?
Oh, wow. Well, kind of success for me means, um, success for me, it's not about the destination, right? It's not about the gold
Mm,
medal. It's not about, being first or the highest or the fastest or whatever it is. That's not success. For me, it's the journey.
mm,
And it's the journey. It's about um, every day. I spring out of bed every day, Nikki, because I've got so much stuff I want to do,
yeah.
and I've got so many opportunities that I just can't do them all.
Mm,
Um, and I meet the most awesome people. I get the most awesome opportunity. And
mm,
so for me, it's about my journey. It's about engaging with people along that journey. It's about, you know, I'm really big. I realize the power of storytelling, Nikki, right?
mm, massive.
Just share your story, tell you the story. So for me, success is, and you know what? If I strive for excellence in whatever I do, then whatever rewards or accolades I get, that's just all a bonus.
Yeah.
So you know what, Nikki? I race motorcycles because A, I love it, and B, I can do it, and I'm pretty good at it. And
Mm,
if I execute the plan to perfection and we achieve all of our goals, then hey, bingo, we'll get a world land speed record. But I'm
mm,
not chasing the land speed record. If you
yeah.
understand what I mean,
Yep.
people sometimes get their priorities wrong. You know, you've got to
Mm,
earn it. You've got to walk the walk, talk the talk. It's that journey of moving forward. And
yeah.
it's learning, it's living, meeting other people, sharing, collaborating, all of that kind of stuff.
And it's wonderful to see your positivity and just your whole ethos in life and how you valued what's happened to you as that negative is actually probably a disguised positive because it's enriched your life so much and you've actually been able to help tens of thousands of people in the world today. So it's just a beautiful story. But just on strength, how do you define strength in a way that feels human and sustainable?
Wow, these are really, really
Because you have to
deep
have a lot of,
questions.
yeah,
These
you
are
have to have
deep
a lot of strength
questions.
for what you've done, Ben,
Oh, um, I think strength comes from within, but I often say, um, you know, it starts with Nikki. For me, it's all about attitude.
Mm.
right? So the first thing you come to a point in your life, as I said before, do I want to be a victim? Or do
Mm,
I want to empower myself, to move forward? Now, at the time, I had no idea what empowering myself and which way I was going to move. I had no idea. But the point was, I was no longer going to become a victim. Now, you know what? Just to get to that point in my life took me a huge emotional, physical toll. I mean,
mm,
the trauma I went through, depression, violence, drugs, alcohol. I mean, man, I paid a really high price for knowledge and wisdom. And so I realized now, if I look back on it, um, I probably should have made the right decisions earlier. But, I guess being a young man is that I had to learn
mm,
how to do that. I had to cry. I had to suffer. And I
mm,
think it's through that process of, well, for instance, here we go. My favorite motorbike ever rode was a katana, a Japanese
mm,
sword. And the way you make a steel blade really strong and really
mm.
sharp is what you do is you have to temper that blade. So
Yeah.
you put that steel in the fire and you get it red hot and you pull it out of the fire and you bash it and you shape it. And then what you do is you put it in the water and then you take it back out and you put it back in the fire. And through that
Mm,
process of tempering and reshaping, right? Physical and
yeah.
heat, and then you put it back, and that's how you make a strong sword. So,
Mm,
Nikki, all the pain and suffering that I went through, having to carry this burden of becoming a blind person in my life, having all my dreams and aspirations taken away from you, helped me build character.
yeah.
It helped me build strength. It gave me intestinal fortitude. And Nikki, it gave me a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
So I call myself, I'm the world's fastest blind man on a motorcycle. I'm a blind man with a vision, and I'm a man on a mission. I live a life full of purpose.
I love that. I love that. And I love your analogy about the sword and the strength. Yeah, that's a beautiful analogy. So, just on that, you've just said you're the fastest blind man on a motorcycle, but now you're pursuing the Guinness World Record for the fastest blind man in a car. Can you tell us what does that goal represent beyond speed?
Right. Yeah, very good. Um, so I'm a real big believer in have a sense of purpose in life, right?
Yeah.
And purely pursuing worldly aspirations of, fast cars and, flashy dresses or suits and having money cash in the pocket, that doesn't really provide you true happiness.
No.
What provides you with true happiness is achieving a sense of purpose. So I'm a man that lives and driven by purpose. I strive for excellence in what I do. um Nikki, I've got the Guinness World Record for the world's fastest speed for a motorcycle ridden blindfold at 272 kilometers an hour. I'm the first blind person in the world to have a motorcycle racing license. I compete against fully sighted people in open class competition at Speed Week on the salt flats in South Australia. And Nikki, we've hit a little bit of a hurdle because for me to drive a car at Speed Week on the salt flats, they won't allow me to have a navigator like I do when I race my motorcycle. So just
Ah,
just for the people out there listening to this podcast, the way that Ben Felton, the blind dude, races a motorcycle is I ride my motorcycle and I have a US UHF radio with
yeah,
email to. And then I have a guy called Kevin McGee, former MotoGP racer, on another motorcycle behind me, and he has a UHF radio with a little microphone built into his
yeah.
helmet. And so Kevin basically is giving me commands down this track. And so, but when I'm racing a
Tell me.
car, they won't allow me to have a chase car. It's too
Yeah,
dangerous. So we've been developing our own blind guidance technology, um, with a couple of blind engineer friends of mine, and we have gotten to the point of proof of concept. So we actually drove a car, totally blind person drove a car independently at last year. Last November we did that at the Maralinga Aerodrome, at Maralinga Airport, right in the middle of
yep.
South Australia. Yep. and we got proof of concept. But for us to take that blind guidance technology to the next level, I need uh, several $100,000 to $500,000 to take it to the next level. So that we're still working on that project on the side. But just recently,
Mm-hmm.
um, I've been approached by a major Japanese motorcycle brand
Yeah.
who want to partner with us and supply us with bikes and mechanics and engineers and all the parts and all the rest of it to go for another motorcycle land speed record. So in
Oh,
March 2026, Kevin and I will be going to the Salt with our new motorbikes. We're moving into a bigger capacity,
yeah.
means faster. And what we're hoping to achieve, our goal is to exceed 300 kilometers per hour.
Ooh, on a motorcycle,
Yeah, yeah. Pretty.
blindfolded. Oh my Lord.
Yeah. My visor's totally blacked out. Now you want to talk about that now? Oh man, you want to? When I'm sitting on the start line, Nikki, right, with my
Mm,
blacked out visor, and I'm sitting on the start line, I can tell you the thing for before I get on that motorcycle, the biggest thing in my mind is fear.
yeah.
Right, I'm absolutely packing it. Fear. I'm sweaty palms. I mean, this is the adrenaline pump of all time beforehand because
Mm,
what I'm about to do is extremely dangerous. And we have a philosophy in our team. We call it the Qantas Club record, right?
yeah.
No incidences, no fatalities. Because if Kevin and I make a mistake at the speeds that we're going, it could be the last one we ever make. So
Yeah.
we can't. We have to execute our plan perfectly. I love the pressure, Nikki.
Mm,
Right, and then to overcome, to have the ability to train your mind to overcome fear is an
mm,
amazing power
mm.
of mindfulness. You see, Nikki, fear itself stops most people from
Yeah.
doing a lot of things in life. Just the thought of fear itself. So if you have the ability, power of mind over matter, and you can put fear, you don't push it away. Fear is what keeps Kevin and I alive. We realize that fear is our friend.
Mm,
We want to embrace our fears because why am I scared? Well, I'm scared that I'll fall. Okay, well, how do we reduce that? I'm scared because of this. I'm scared. So that's fear keeps us alive. So
yeah.
rather than being scared of it and running away from fear, we embrace it.
Yeah.
We want to know about it. We want to own it. We want to control it.
Yeah.
And once you, and Nikki, one of the things that I've learned over time is, when I'm racing my motorcycles, I cannot allow emotion, right? When I'm on that motorbike from the start line until I stop, I cannot allow emotion to influence my mind.
Mm,
I have a plan, and my job is to execute that plan to perfection in partnership with my navigator, Kevin
yeah.
McGee. And if we both execute that plan perfectly, then we will reap the benefits of our hard work. And that's how you get world records. We don't focus on world records.
Yeah.
Get that? We don't chase speed. What we're doing is we're doing what we love to do. We practice it, and we practice it, and we practice it, and practice it, and practice it. And before you know it, they'll say, "Hey, Ben, do you know you just did 285 kilometers an hour?" I go, really? That was like I
Mm,
was just cruising down the freeway.
mm. And you're conquering your fear at the same time. Yeah. And is that something that you hope people feel or take away from hearing your story, that you can conquer your fear? Or are you hoping that people take away something else by hearing your story?
I think, Nikki, it's that every listener out there is on their own mission in life. They're on their own
Mm,
journey of life, right? And every single person, are moving forward one step in front of the other. And, our journey of life, there are times where we'll face an obstacle. And some of those obstacles, I used to see obstacles in front of me as a stumbling block or a
mm,
barrier. But now I look at those those in front of me now and I see them as stepping stones. The only difference is it's my attitude. So if there's any
Mm,
message that I have to anybody out there, regardless of where you are, and this time of year being close to Christmas, often it's a time where we want to spend time with our family and friends. There's a lot of people out
mm,
there who are lonely right now. There's a
yeah.
lot of people there who've got spare time on their hands. This is a really emotional time for a lot of people coming up to Christmas. And so wherever you are on your journey of life, you must always have hope, and if you are willing to put one step in front of the next step, then in your journey of life, if you have the right attitude, surround yourself with the right people, and then life is amazing to live,
Mm,
and life can
absolutely.
be extraordinarily rewarding.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, Ben, while you're chasing these extraordinary goals, what mindset, or how do you keep your mindset grounded and positivity in your mind?
Mm. So this is, I get a lot of energy from people. So Nikki,
Mm,
you're probably the same too. You know, being a nurse, working in the medical system, helping other people, helping vulnerable people, seeing people heal. Not everyone will heal, but
mm,
and for me, I have set up a charity inside of Dreams. We provide inspirational one-on-one mentoring for people who've acquired a disability. So I can share my pearls of wisdom, the hard-earned lessons that I've learned. I can actually speak from a practical life experience, and I can talk to someone who's just got the diagnosis of going blind, or
mm,
someone who's just had a major traumatic incident in life. Because guess what? I know how they feel.
mm. You've
I've
lived it.
I've lived it. I've survived it, and I've come out the other side living this most extraordinary life. So and so for me, it's about people. For me, I'm putting on blind speed track days where I give blind and vision impaired people the opportunity to experience the thrill of motorsport in a safe and controlled environment. Blind people can get behind the wheel of a dual control car with a professional driving instructor to drive around a racetrack. And we also, and I've partnered with the Porsche Club, and so we can I take people for hot laps in a race car around a circuit. So, because of my background and experience and networks and contacts in the motorsport industry, I've been blessed enough that people respect me and people and companies are willing to insure my events and get behind
Yeah,
me and volunteer and come along. And we put on these track days. We've got one on the 3rd of May at Sydney Motorsport Park. We've got one on the 25th of September at Queensland Raceway. And this is where I give hundreds of people who are blind and vision impaired, people who've never driven or experienced going in a race car. Sometimes we even do pillion rides on motorcycles and sidecars. So
yeah,
for me, Nikki, my legacy, me having a charity, volunteering, giving back to my community. And you know what? I love my motorsport. I can do it. My friends love it. And
yeah,
if I can bring my community along, my blind and vision impaired young people, particularly young people come along, Nikki. And when I'm standing in the pit lane area there, and after the race cars pull in and someone jumps out of a car and they're just adrenaline rush. They're super excited. They're jumping out of the car. Wow. And the,
yeah.
and smiles on people's dials gives me
Mm-hmm.
so much reward and energy. That's what it's all about. You
Yeah.
know, I, I there are so many heartfelt stories, but I'd
Mm,
like to share one with you. With my last track day, Porsche Club New South Wales, a lot of the volunteer drivers, they're all CEOs and executives and prosecutors and lawyers and people in high-powered jobs or really big responsible jobs. And they
mm-hmm.
come along and to give their time to share their passion with people who are blind and vision impaired. And we had a young 14-year-old boy who did 6 laps in the Porsche race car. And when he hopped out of the car, the guy was just beaming
Yeah.
and bounced out of the car and he was just so excited. And his mother leaned into the car and handed the driver this envelope. And at the end of that track night, we were having a debriefing session in the pit garages, and he pulled out this envelope, and it was a card, and it
Oh,
was written by mum and dad, and it says, "Dear driver, um, on behalf of our family, my wife and I, whatever their names were." want to sincerely thank you from the bottom of our heart because our son has been diagnosed with grade 4 cancer and he
Oh,
doesn't have much time to live. His childhood dream was to become a race car driver. And for you to take our son to achieve his lifetime dream is so rewarding for our family. Thank
mm,
you so much. And would you believe it? I had 20 fully grown men standing in that pit garage with tears streaming down their eyes.
yeah. And you
You,
probably can't see me, but I've got tears welled up in my eyes and a whole body effect of goosebumps all over
you
my
get it,
body. How beautiful. How
isn't it?
beautiful. Yeah.
That's what rocks my boat. You
Mm,
can't buy that, Nikki, for
no.
all the tea in China,
No,
right?
not at all. That's what
It,
it's all about, giving and being kind to each other. And you don't know what someone is going through at the time. It's just beautiful. What you do is absolutely beautiful. But your advocacy goes beyond disability. You encourage everyone to chase their dreams. It's just amazing what you do. But just on that, what do you believe holds people back the most in your experience to follow their dreams?
oh, wow. I mean, that's another big question. What holds us back?
Mm,
Um, well, this is, I mean, cultural values, you know. I remember, my sisters did very little sport because back in those, 40, 50 years ago, girls don't do things like that. So cultural values are changing.
mm,
People are much more open-minded. We live in a much more inclusive, equitable,
yeah.
right, community. So I'm a big believer in social justice issues. Well, I never was. Um, I'm a big believer in create young people need opportunities. They need some
Mm,
guidance. And I'm right into empowering people. You know
yeah.
what? If I went to those 25 blokes in the boardroom and said, righto, you lot, I'm going to teach you all a lesson because human rights, equal opportunity, and you know what? They'd all stand there and glazed over and think, who is this
Mm,
guy? They wouldn't give me. But you know what? I create opportunities and I
mm,
bring people along on the journey. You see, I'm the blind man with vision, remember?
yes,
And so my vision
absolutely.
is to create opportunities to bring people from all diverse aspects of our to come together and
Mm,
let's give to each other and let's share in the resources and the skills and the opportunities that we have. And it's through that community collaboration do we all learn and
yeah,
understand from each other. And this is where peace and harmony, and this is where the word community really means common unity. It's
yeah.
called humanity. And
Humanity,
by bringing all
absolutely.
aspects of humanity together and where we can feel the peace and we can feel the love. Now, blokes like me don't like talking about those sort of words, right? Because
Yeah,
that's unmanly. But you can feel the love.
yeah,
And that's what it is, Nikki.
yeah. And I'm just
Love.
thinking, the story that you just shared about the 25 men that, come that day, gave their time and the lesson they learned from that card that was read out. you know, you created that by bringing community together, and it's such a big lesson. And also, then that what they take away from that and share with others, and the ripple effect that goes through the community from there. It's not just that at that space, the learning happens and ripples through the community from their experience because they've lived it now. They understand it rather than you standing in the boardroom giving them an education.
Hence, you know,
Mm,
um, when I was studying theology, I
theology.
used to thought, listen here, you bunch of idiots, don't you realize, wake up yourself, right? But that's not how you teach people. Right? Parable. You teach people in parables. What you do is you walk the walk and then you tell the story. Or you
Yeah.
walk the walk and you watch it, let other people watch you. And so, Nikki, when I was 45 years old, I was working for government and I turned up to work one day. I was a community cultural development officer working as a disability access expert for state and local government. And I rocked up to work 7:30 one morning and I sat there, turned my PC and I went, you know what? I don't really want to be here anymore. I thought, I've worked 15 years. I can if I'd stay here in this job, I'd have it nice and cushy. I get good income, good benefits, it's close to home. It's really comfortable environment for me. And if I just tick along for the next 15 years, I'll retire as a public servant and would be
Mm.
proud of what I've done. Or I can throw resign, throw the dice, and pursue my dreams. And I went, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. So I wrote my resignation. My boss came in that morning, 9 o'clock, and I said, "Oh, excuse me, Eric." Knocked on his door and I said, "Eric, have you got a minute?" He goes, "Sure." And I hopped in, I closed the door, and I sat down. I said, "Eric, I want to give you this." And he's opened up the envelope and read my resignation. And he went, "Oh, Ben," he said, "I'm really sorry to read this." He said, "You're doing a wonderful job and is it money? What is it? Because we don't want to lose you. You're doing an amazing job here." And I said, Eric, it's time for me to move on." He said, "But Ben,
Mm.
why? Why?" I said, "Eric, I'm now ready to have much more of an impact in the world." He said, "Well, what are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, Eric, I'm going to go and race some motorbikes." And he said, "Ben, are you okay?" Are you a blind man racing? How are you going to do that? And when I started to explain to him, and then I said to Eric, I said, "Eric, working with you and working with the government, I realized the power of storytelling."
Yeah.
And so rather than being a disability advocate working on the grind and doing government policy and, elections, I thought, no, 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 I've done that. Now it's time for me to go out there. And you see, Nikki, when I was on the island of Barbados at the age of 42, when I decided that I no longer had the speed and agility to be a member of the Australian blind cricket team, I bought
Mm.
myself a bottle of rum and guava juice and on the island of Barbados, sat down, went to the beach and sat on a coconut palm to contemplate my future. And my first decision was, well, I've been honoured and had the privilege to represent Australia in rowing and now cricket. And I realised that it's time for me to move on because I didn't have the speed and agility, and I certainly wasn't recovering like I used to. And
Yeah.
then I thought, well, that's a tough decision to make, discipline. And then I thought, well, Ben, for you to stay disciplined, you need to have a goal. Otherwise, I fall off track and then I create too much havoc. So I've got to have a goal. And I sat back and I thought, well, what's my sporting goal? And I thought, oh, I've done rowing, I've done sailing, I've done this, I've done that, everything else. And I thought to myself, Ben, what was your childhood dream? And I sat back, had a sip of rum and guava juice, and I thought, you know what? My childhood dream, Nikki, was to race motorcycles at the highest level. And the first thing that came to mind was, Ben, you can't do that, you idiot, you're blind.
Yeah.
And I thought that because that's what I was taught. If
Yep.
you're blind, you can't do anything and if you did, you're an idiot because you're putting yourself at risk. And I thought, you know what? I know that I can ride a motorcycle. I was a really good motorcycle rider when I can see. My
Mm.
problem is not the being blind. My problem is not riding the motorbikes. I know I can do it. My problem is how in the hell am I going to navigate?
Yeah.
So I was a mind analyzing the situation, thought, you know what, I can ride a bike. So my decided right there and then the next thing I'm going, my sporting goal in life helps me stay on the rails and keeps me disciplined. My next sporting goal in life was to go and ride
Yep.
motorbikes. And that was I my charity is called Insight of Dreams.
Yep.
And one of the things that I teach people is when you slide into the abyss of darkness and you're frailing around in a place that you don't know where the door is, you don't know where the light switch is, you're scared, there's fear all around, you don't know whether you're going to bump into something or trip over something or burn yourself or someone's going to come up behind you. All of it. And when I was in, and you know what I needed to do, Nikki? I told myself, Ben, dream. Don't put any barriers. Don't have any barriers. Don't have
Mm.
any cultural attitudes. All right. Have a positive attitude and dream big. Because I once worked with a millionaire who became bankrupt and then became a millionaire. And he said to me, Ben, he said, you should always shoot for the stars. Shoot as far and as high as you possibly can. And if you land on the moon, you've done really well.
Yep.
And so think big, dream
Yep.
big, and then turn your dreams into reality. And everybody, Nikki, can do that if they're willing to work hard enough for
Mm-hmm.
it.
So
So
just
be
just on
empowered.
that, Ben, just
Yeah.
on that, what's one small shift someone can make today if they feel stuck or discouraged or come up against a barrier? Like you're saying, dream big. Yes, we could dream big, but what's something they can shift within their mindset then?
The first thing is to realize that it's okay.
Mm,
You know what? To feel bad, to feel depressed, you know what? These are normal, natural human feelings and emotions that we all experience and we all go through depending on what's going on in and around our lives. So you've got to say to yourself, you know what? I'm hurting. That's okay. Or I'm
mm,
grieving. You know what? That's okay and it's natural. That's it, an important process of healing. Allow
mm.
yourself
Yeah,
to grieve. Allow yourself to feel the frustration and the pain. It's okay. And tell yourself it's normal, it's natural, it's okay. But then also tell yourself, I'm going to, all you have to say, it's a light switch moment. I'm going to make my life better. And
mm-hmm.
and just by making that decision, that's the first step. So very famous Chinese proverb says, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. But
True.
before you take that step, Nikki, you are the one who makes the decision that I'm now not going to be stuck in this circumstance. I'm going to move forward and I'm now going to take the first step.
Yeah.
So empower yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Tell yourself it's okay to feel pain. It's okay to feel bad or have a whatever. Feeling depressed. I get it. I understand it. Sometimes you feel helpless. It's normal. It's natural. It's okay. And when you're ready, if you want to make that change in your life, all you have to say is, I'm going to make that change in life. Now, how are you going to do it? Well, I don't know. The best way you do it is go and ask somebody that you trust or you love.
Yeah.
Go and talk to somebody. Go and see a counselor. Go to a priest. Go and speak to another. Go and pick up a book
Mm.
because all the answers are there.
Yeah.
You just have to go and find them.
Mm. Yeah. Good advice. So, Ben, just getting to know you now, this short time, you're full of beautiful energy and positivity. How do you personally stay connected to gratitude and joy?
Oh, um, this is really one of the lessons I've learned, Nikki, is by me learning to be meek and to be humble. It's amazing, but when you have that sense of peace, I don't need to prove anything to anybody.
Mm.
I'm really comfortable in my own skin. I'm totally blind. I just love who I am. It's a part of my life. I don't need to be healed. I don't need to be fixed. I don't need a magic spell. Give my
Mm.
eyesight back. I don't need any of that. I'm comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah.
So being comfortable, being, humble and being meek. And I find that the more that I give, Nikki, the more I receive.
Yeah.
Right. But what's important for me is to measure myself, be balance. You need to, a part of living a healthy healthy life is about looking after your body, listen to
Mm.
your body, eat right, sleep right, work hard, but it's all a balance.
Yeah.
And so I've had to learn through time is it's important I eat right. I need to get my 6 to 8 hours sleep a night, Nikki, otherwise
Yeah.
I'm really grumpy the next day. But if I look after those basic things and I eat a good diet, socialize. If I have I used to think that weakness was saying, oh, I'm not feeling very well, or I don't think I can do that today. You know what I
Mm.
said to myself? Weakness, that's not weakness at all. It's like turning
Mm.
fear into a positive thing. So it's about
Mm.
embracing all of these things. It's about understanding, it's about keeping life in balance. But
Yeah.
for me, gratitude and what gives me energy is look, Nikki, the reality is that I've got to pay the electricity bill and pay off my mortgage and put food on the plate, all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
What I've learned to do that if you live a life, a balanced life, you strive for excellence in what you do, then all these opportunities will arise, and then um, all of these things that I've been pursuing actually come to me on a platter.
Yeah.
So I really think, look, you, Nikki, you know this. Every human being wants to be around positive people.
Yeah.
We want to be around influential people. We want to be around people that are wiser than us. We want to be people that will, and it's a human thing. We want to feel safe.
Mm.
We want to feel happy. We want to be a part of a team. We want to, whatever it is, um, pursue, you know, what I can say is I don't pursue money or power or prestige.
Mm-hmm.
What I do is I try and be the best person that I possibly can. And I try and you know what? When you have those skills, people are naturally drawn to you. People
Yeah.
want to confide in you. People see you as a leader. They
Yeah.
see you as a responsible role model. They say, hey, Ben, how about you get up on stage and entertain those 300 people? I never knew I could do things like that. I
Yeah.
really didn't. Nikki, I didn't realize this. One of the benefits of being blind, right? Now, here you go. I'm going to share something with you and your listeners here.
Mm.
This is pretty special. Are there benefits in being blind? Well, guess what? Yes, there are. Now, no one wants to be a totally blind person because you think you're vulnerable and, geez,
Mm.
how do I get around? How do I have a job? How do I do all these sort of things? And yes, I do have to ask people for help. But if you look at yin and yang, positive and negative, light and
Mm-hmm.
dark. What there is a positive to blindness. So everything that I do, especially things that are negative or where I've failed, or my biggest failures actually are one of the best things that ever happened to me because what I
Yeah.
do is I want to learn from that experience. Where did I make a mistake? How can I do that better? And you know what? So it's through learning about looking at my blinds and saying, well, where are the good things in this? Well, one of the greatest blessings that a blind person has, if they empower themselves, is the ability to inspire others.
Mm.
Right. So, and I get up on stage and I travel the world and I do all these amazing, and people go, wow, you're just an amazing guy. And I go, no, I'm not. I'm just a normal bloke
Yeah.
who's making the most of every opportunity. I
Mm-hmm.
look for the good in all things. I try and find the lessons. And you know what? Having a balance of light and darkness,
Yeah.
positive and negative, or yin and yang, I think is essential to all people to keep ourselves balanced. Does that
Yeah.
make any sense, Nikki?
Absolutely, it does make sense. And what was the analogy that was coming to me by you shining, you can, shine the light for others, and that's what draws them to you and, yeah, want to be around you. Yeah. So, Ben, what excites you most about what's still ahead for you?
Oh, geez, where do I start?
Well, you're going to be trying to break another record. That's very
Well,
exciting.
break another
Scary.
record. We've made international award-winning films. I've been doing publishing deals. I've been getting guest speaking opportunities all over the place. Um, you know, and gosh, where do we start? I get out of bed. I spring out of bed every day, most days, to be honest with you, and I think, geez, wow, yeah, there's so many things I want to do. I don't think there's enough hours in the day. Uh,
Mm,
you know what's important for me, Nikki? My legacy.
yeah.
It's not about me,
Mm,
right? I'm a man. I'm out there living my dreams. When I was a 5-year-old boy, all I wanted to do was ride motorbikes at the highest level. Guess what? I'm doing that.
mm,
I was thought, how am I going to buy a house and be in a relationship? Well, I've got a most beautiful wife, and we've nearly paid off our mortgage. And now I'm getting approaches by motorcycle manufacturers to say, hey, we want you to ride our motorbike. What else do you need? Now, I can
mm,
tell you 10 years ago, no Japanese brand will want to put a blind guy on their bike because they're fearful he'll crash, then he'll hurt himself or kill himself. And people are going to
yeah.
say, that brand is ridiculous by letting a blind person. Now,
Mm,
Those brands are coming to people like me saying, hey, Ben, we want you. Nikki, I wish I was about 25 years younger
mm,
because the world is changed in such a positive way. Now, you're hearing me, everybody out there. All this propaganda and crap that we see on social media and the news every night, that's sensationalism and it sells,
yeah.
right? And that's how people stay in power by dividing and conquering.
Mm-hmm.
What we need to do as a society, as a community, as Australians, is to come together.
Absolutely.
And it's when we come together in strength.
Yep.
That's what, right?
Yep.
And so I guess I feel that I have a greater purpose. So, it's about my legacy. So, Nikki, when that day comes and people are celebrating my life, what I'd like people to think about is, what? That guy got dealt a pretty raw deal, but he turned his situation, he turned adversity into triumph.
Yep.
He lived the life, he lived the dream. I
Mm,
did my best, made lots of mistakes too, by the way. But and I'll just live a fulfilled life.
yeah.
And the more people that I can touch who hear my story, who come to my track days, or come and watch me race, or see my films, documentaries, read
Mm,
my book, hey, I know that I'm playing a really important role, not just here in Australian society,
yeah.
but I know all around the world. Nikki, can I just, before we close, I'll tell you something. You know what rocks my boat? I got an email a few months ago from an 11-year-old boy in America. And the email went something like this: Hi, Ben, you are one of my heroes.
Mm,
Can you please send me some of your stickers and sign them?
wow.
Because I've got leukemia and I've only got a couple of more weeks to live. He said, I'm really scared of dying. He said, what I want to do, Ben, is I want to put your sticker inside my coffin because I want to lay with my heroes.
Oh,
And when I get emails like that, Nikki, I just sit there and go, wow. Here's another one. I got an email through LinkedIn, a message from Dan Gray. He's from Moscow.
mm-hmm.
Born blind, he calls himself a solo traveler. He's a musician, an athlete, and an English teacher. And he's been born blind and he's never driven a car or motorbike. So he's emailed me and he said, Ben, my dream, I really, really, really want to drive a car or ride a motorbike. I'm coming to Australia in March. Can you help me experience my dream? And I'm sitting here going, shit, like in Moscow. I've had a guy from Scotland come out to my track day last year. We had a guy from the UK. Now, Nikki, I have to pinch myself sometimes to
Yeah.
think, shit, you mean people in America and Canada and Portugal and Spain. My movies have been shown in Portugal, Spain, Netherlands, Germany, France, Italy.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, wow, you know, when I
Beautiful
was a young
legacy.
boy, the most popular, I mean, I was very popular with the local constabulary. Now, I don't realize, Nikki, how much of a positive inspiration I am to people all over the world.
Absolutely, you are, Ben. That ripple effect has gone far and wide, and just again, full body goosebumps on those feedback that you're getting back from that little boy. What you're touching is something that you cannot explain to anyone. You can't, yeah, you can't buy it. You can't do anything other than your unconditional kindness of giving, and the effect that you're having on society is phenomenal. Like it's just, you're truly amazing what you're doing, Ben. And just the energy today with you, I'm just, vibing this end. You're just a true inspiration to all about how you can turn adversity, or where you see adversity, really as disguised a positive, because your life has been so rich and so rewarding and so giving to humanity. It's just truly beautiful. And I was thinking, with those bikes, maybe you might be able to design the first driverless bike with the driverless cars with the companies.
Now, there's a great idea. And I can't wait to buy my first autonomous car. Um,
Mm,
I've got some blind friends of mine in the United States who often will hire or Waymo or an Uber
Yeah.
and they grab their pizza and their bottle of champagne and all that, and they hire the car and they sit in the back seat and they just go driving around everywhere. And I'm
Yeah.
going, oh, how cool is that?
It's amazing. It's
It is
amazing.
amazing. So, I
Mm,
just see so many positive things in the world, and this is really important to everybody.
mm.
Look for the positive, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Every cloud has a silver lining, as they say. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Ben, where can people follow your journey and learn more about your work?
Well, probably best place for me is I have a blind speed Facebook page, Instagram. We also have Insider Dreams Facebook page, and I've got a website for more information about blind speed track days and Insider Dreams, our registered charity. Go to www.insightofdreams.org.au, INSIGHT of dreams.org.au. And to follow my story, and our website's just going to get a major marketing and redesign revamp with our new brand sponsors coming on board. So, and that's benfelton.com.au.
I'm sure there'll be lots of people looking you up after this podcast. You're just truly inspirational, Ben. So we thank you for giving your time and sharing your wisdom and all your beautiful story and what you have done for society and humanity out there, and how much your your gift to others is helping each other out there.
Nikki, thank you very much for inviting me on your podcast where you've introduced me to your listeners. And Merry Christmas, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Ben. Well, Ben Felton reminds us that vision is not something we lose, it is something we choose. His story shows us that belief, kindness, and courage can move us forward even when the path changes. Sometimes the greatest limits are the ones we release. This is Positive Vibes with Nicki Dennis, where stories like Ben's reminds us that possibility is always within reach. Sending you all love and positive vibes. Bye for now, and thank you, Ben. It's been a pure pleasure today. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki.